Speed, risk, racing, jumping, flying. You see a Formula One race, an impossible motorcycle trick, or a man jumping from the edge of space. And somewhere near that moment, the same logo appears again and again. Today, you will see how Dietrich Mateschitz turned a small energy drink into a world of speed, risk, and spectacle, and made millions of people want to watch the ads. But this story did not begin with Formula One, space jumps, or impossible stunts. It began in Thailand, with a simple energy drink made for people who needed to stay awake, survive a long shift, finish a drive, or simply get through a hard day. In the beginning, there was no global media machine. There was a functional drink. Its job was simple: to give people energy, not to build a legend, not to create a sports empire, not to become a symbol of risk, just to help a person keep going. That is what makes the Red Bull story interesting. Because a great brand did not begin with a complicated idea. It began with a simple human need: to stay awake, to not give up, to make it to the end of the day. Mateschitz saw this kind of drink in Asia and understood that the idea worked. But to bring it to the Western market, it was not enough to sell the liquid. He had to change the perception. The same product could be presented as a cheap stimulant for work, or as a small premium symbol of energy. Red Bull chose the second path. It did not just change the packaging, it changed the meaning. On the shelf, it was a small can, but in the customer's mind, that can had to become something much bigger. The product could give people energy. The brand had to give that energy an identity, and that was the first turning point. But there was a problem. The energy drink itself was easy to copy. The can could be imitated. The taste could be copied. The caffeine could be copied. And almost any competitor could promise more energy. If people bought only the ingredients, the brand was weak, because then the choice became simple. Which can was cheaper? Which taste was stronger? Which promise sounded better? And in that kind of fight, Red Bull could become just one more drink in the fridge. Expensive, visible, but replaceable. So the real question was not how to sell one can. The question was how to make people see more than a drink inside the can. How do you make a simple product carry a state of mind? Because a taste can be copied. A formula can be copied. But a meaning is much harder to copy. Red Bull needed to build something much harder to replace. Not just drink this and get energy, but look at what energy feels like. So Red Bull began building a world around the can. Races, jumps, records, airplanes, athletes, and videos people chose to watch on their own. Energy is difficult to sell with words. If you explain it too literally, it quickly becomes boring. A brand can talk about caffeine, focus, and performance, but that still sounds like a product claim. It is understandable, but it does not make your heart beat faster. Red Bull took a different path. It started showing energy through action. A racing car on the edge of control, a motorcycle in the air, a person falling from an impossible height, a record people wanted to see for themselves. This was a different language, not the language of ingredients written on a can, the language of spectacle. When people saw a motorcycle in the air, nobody had to explain the word energy. They could already feel it in the shot. When they saw a jump from an insane height, they did not need a long advertising promise. They already understood the feeling. And near that feeling, Red Bull appeared again. Not as a random logo, but as part of the moment. That is how the brand started taking space not only on the shelf, but in people's memory. Regular advertising usually interrupts. You want to watch a video and an ad appears. You want to see an event and a brand tries to squeeze itself in front of it. Most companies buy attention. Red Bull started creating it. It was no longer simply placing advertising around exciting moments. It was beginning to create those moments itself. People were not watching because they were forced to. They were watching because they were interested. A plane lands where a plane is not supposed to land. A person jumps from an insane height. A motorcycle rider performs a trick that looks impossible. A racing car flies around the track. An athlete goes where one mistake could change everything. And it no longer felt like advertising. It felt like content, like a show, like a record, like a story people wanted to watch again. Red Bull was not just showing advertising. It was creating moments people wanted to see. That is why the system became so powerful. The athlete got a platform. The event got attention. Red Bull got a story. And the viewer got a spectacle. Every side made the other side stronger. And at the center of that system was the can. Not because it was the main character in the shot, but because it was connected to the moment people remembered. When a viewer watches a normal ad, they often wait for it to end. When a viewer watches a powerful Red Bull stunt, they do not think about advertising. They think, how did they even do that? But that is exactly when the brand works the strongest. Because the logo does not appear next to a boring promise. It appears inside the most emotional part of the story. The risk, the height, the speed, the moment people do not forget. And later, that person sees a can on the shelf. In front of them is not just a drink. It is a small connection to that world. Most people will never jump from a plane, land on a skyscraper, drive a Formula One car, or flip a motorcycle in the air. But they can buy the can. And for a few seconds, they can touch that feeling. That was the power of Red Bull. The media did not sell the can through a direct explanation. It sold the feeling the can had begun to represent. But the system also worked in the other direction. The can was sold all over the world, and each new sale helped fund the next athlete, the next stunt, the next video, and the next record. It became a loop. The drink funded the events. The events created the media, and the media sold more drinks. The can built the world, and the world sold the can. The stronger the events became, the stronger the brand became. And the stronger the brand became, the bigger the next events could be. That is how Red Bull stopped acting like only a drink company. It started acting like a media company. A normal brand buys space inside someone else's content. Red Bull created the content itself. A normal brand asks where it can buy attention. Red Bull asked what it could create that deserved attention. After Red Bull, an energy drink no longer looked like just a drink for tired people. The whole category started speaking through sports, music, motorsport, youth culture, attitude, and movement. Competitors started copying not only the taste or the can, they started copying the language. Because Red Bull showed that an energy drink could be sold not through ingredients, but through a lifestyle, not through an explanation of energy, but through a world where that energy was already happening. Red Bull made the energy drink more than a product. It made it a symbol, and that symbol was much harder to copy than the drink. On the shelf, Red Bull was still just a can. But in the customer's mind, it had become something bigger: speed, risk, flight, courage, a moment where a person steps outside an ordinary day. And that was the real turning point. Red Bull took a simple functional product, repackaged it as a premium symbol of energy, and then built a media world around it that made the can more valuable. Not through long explanations, not through ingredients, not through regular advertising, but through moments people wanted to watch on their own. When people saw a record, they saw Red Bull. When they saw a stunt, they saw Red Bull. When they saw the impossible, the brand was already there. And later, when they saw the can, they did not remember the taste first. They remembered the feeling. That is why Red Bull became stronger than a regular energy drink. It did not sell only the liquid inside the can. It sold the feeling before the can was even opened. Regular advertising looks for the viewer. Red Bull created a world where the viewer started looking for the advertising. That was the turning point. Red Bull did not just sell energy. It made energy something people wanted to watch.